My sister and her husband wanted to throw my parents out of their house so they could live happily in it, but I said no. Now I've lost my girlfriend and my sister won't speak to me. Aida, I, 32M, have a sister, 29F, who got married last month. We were close growing up but drifted apart in our 20s. She moved across the country for work, and I stayed in our hometown to take care of our aging parents. My sister announced her engagement 2 years ago. She and her fiancé decided on a destination wedding in Bali. When she told me about it, I was happy for her but also worried about how I'd manage to attend. There were a few problems. 1. Cost. The trip would have cost me around $3,000 for flights, accommodation, and other expenses. I'm not poor, but I'm not rich either. I work as a high school teacher, and that's a significant chunk of my savings. 2. Time off. The wedding was planned for mid-semester. Getting time off work would have been really difficult. I'd have to find substitute teachers for my classes, which is a hassle for everyone involved. 3. Our parents. Mom and Dad are in their 70s now. Dad has early-stage Alzheimer's, and Mom has mobility issues. They need daily assistance, which I provide. Finding someone to care for them for a week would have been challenging and expensive. I explained all this to my sister when she first announced the wedding plans. I told her I'd do my best to make it work, but I couldn't promise anything. She seemed to understand at the time. As the wedding date got closer, I realized there was no way I could attend. I called my sister about 3 months before the wedding to let her know. I apologized and explained again why I couldn't make it. I offered to throw her a small celebration when she returned, and I sent a generous gift. At first, she seemed disappointed, but okay with it. But then things started to get messy. She began posting passive-aggressive comments on social media about family who don't care enough to make an effort. Our cousins who were attending the wedding started messaging me, saying I was selfish and should find a way to be there. The situation escalated when my sister called me a week before the wedding. She was crying and accused me of ruining her special day. She said I was choosing our parents over her and that I was jealous of her success. I tried to explain again, but she hung up on me. The wedding happened, and from the photos, it looked beautiful. I sent her another message congratulating her, but she left me on read. Since then, she's been ignoring my calls and messages. Our parents are upset about the situation, and it's causing them stress, which isn't good for their health. Some of my friends think I did the right thing, considering my responsibilities and financial situation. Others say I should have found a way to attend no matter what, as it was such an important day for my sister. I feel torn. I love my sister and wanted to be there for her, but I also have obligations here that I couldn't ignore. I don't think I'm the asshole, but the whole situation has me questioning myself. Some additional context that I forgot to mention earlier, which makes the situation even more complicated. About a month before the wedding, my sister dropped a bombshell on me. She called and said she and her new husband were planning to move back to our hometown after the wedding. At first, I was excited. It would be great to have her close by again. But then she explained her plan in more detail. She wanted to move into our parents' house. Her reasoning was that it's a big house, and since I'm living there to take care of Mom and Dad, there's plenty of room for her and her husband too. She said it would be a win-win situation because she could help with our parents' care. I was hesitant about this idea. Our parents' house is indeed large, but it's not exactly set up for 2 separate families. Plus, I was worried about how the change might affect Dad's Alzheimer's. He gets confused easily with changes in his environment. But the real shock came when my sister suggested that we should consider moving our parents to an assisted living facility or nursing home. She argued that it would be better for them in the long run, as they'd have round-the-clock professional care. She also mentioned that it would free up the house for us younger folks and allow us to live our lives. I was stunned by her suggestion. Our parents have always been clear about wanting to age in place, in the home they've lived in for over 40 years. Dad, even with his memory issues, becomes distressed at the mere mention of leaving the house. And Mom, despite her mobility problems, is still sharp as a nail and adamant about staying in her own home. I tried to explain all this to my sister, but she brushed off my concerns. She said I was being old-fashioned and sacrificing my life for our parents. She accused me of wanting to keep the house for myself and of not considering what's best for everyone. I stood my ground and told her that moving our parents to a facility was not an option I was willing to consider. I also expressed my doubts about her and her husband moving into the house, given how it might affect our parents' well-being. This conversation happened just a few weeks before I had to tell her I couldn't attend the wedding. Looking back, I wonder if this disagreement influenced her reaction to my absence at the wedding. After the wedding, things got even more tense. My sister and her new husband returned from their honeymoon and immediately started pressuring me about moving in and sending our parents to a home. They even went as far as to research some local facilities and show brochures to our parents, which upset Dad greatly and led to one of his worst confusion episodes yet. I put my foot down and told them they couldn't move in. I explained that our parents' well-being was my priority and that as long as they wanted to stay in their home, that's where they'd be. I offered to help my sister and her husband find a place nearby if they still wanted to move to town, but they refused. This led to a huge argument. My sister accused me of being selfish, of hoarding our parents' assets, even though I don't have any access to their finances, and of trying to cut her out of the family. Her husband joined in, calling me a mama's boy, and suggesting that I was just afraid of living on my own. The argument ended with my sister storming out, saying she and her husband would find their own place in town. Since then, they've been giving me the cold shoulder. They've visited our parents a few times, but they barely acknowledge me when they're here. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, I want to mend my relationship with my sister. On the other hand, I can't agree to something that would negatively impact our parents' quality of life. The whole situation has been incredibly stressful, and it's affecting my work and my ability to care for Mom and Dad. I've tried reaching out to my sister to talk things through, but she either ignores my messages or responds with rude one-word answers. Our parents are aware of the tension, and it's causing them sorrow, especially Dad, who gets agitated when he senses conflict. Some family members have sided with my sister, saying I'm being unreasonable, and that a care facility might actually be better for our parents. Others support my decision, understanding the importance of respecting our parents' wishes. I'm at a loss for what to do next. I want to repair my relationship with my sister, but not at the expense of our parents' well-being. The whole situation has me questioning whether I handled things correctly. So, Reddit, given all this additional context, Aita for not only missing the wedding, but also refusing to let my sister move in and declining to send our parents to a care facility? Update 1. It's been 3 months since my last post, and a lot has happened. I wanted to give you all an update on the situation with my sister, my parents, and now, unfortunately, my girlfriend. First, thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Your comments and insights gave me a lot to think about. Many of you suggested family therapy, which I tried to arrange, but my sister refused to participate. In the past 3 months, the situation with my sister hasn't improved much. She and her husband did end up moving to our hometown, but they bought a house on the other side of town. They visit our parents occasionally, but these visits are often tense. My sister still brings up the idea of moving them to a care facility, which always ends in an argument. Dad's Alzheimer's has progressed a bit. He has more frequent episodes of confusion, especially in the evenings. Mom's mobility hasn't changed much, but she's been more stressed because of the family conflict, which worries me. But the real bombshell came last week, and it involved my girlfriend, Sarah, 30F. We've been together for 2 years, and she's always been supportive of my decision to care for my parents. At least, I thought she was. Last Friday, Sarah came over and said we needed to talk. She sat me down and started talking about how she'd been thinking a lot about our future. She said she loved me and wanted to build a life together, but she felt like we couldn't move forward while I was so focused on caring for my parents. Then, to my shock, she suggested that maybe my sister was right. She said that moving my parents to a care facility might be the best option for everyone. She argued that professional caregivers could provide better care than I could, and that it would give us, the freedom to live our own lives. I was stunned. I asked her where this was coming from, and she admitted that she'd been talking with my sister. Apparently, they had had lunch together a few times over the past month, and my sister had convinced Sarah that I was sacrificing my future by insisting on caring for our parents at home. I tried to explain my position again, how my parents have explicitly stated their wish to stay in their home, how moving could worsen Dad's condition, how Mom's happiness is tied to staying in the house she's lived in for decades. But Sarah wouldn't listen. She told me I was being stubborn and short-sighted. She said she wanted to get married and start a family, but she couldn't see that happening if I was going to be a full-time caregiver for my parents indefinitely. Then she gave me an ultimatum. I had to choose between her and my parents. I was shocked and hurt that she would put me in this position. I love Sarah, and I had hoped to build a future with her. But I couldn't abandon my parents or go against their wishes just to please her. In that moment, I realized that anyone who would force me to choose between them and my family, especially my vulnerable parents, wasn't someone I wanted to spend my life with. So I chose my parents. Sarah was upset. She cried and accused me of never really loving her. She stormed out, saying I'd regret this decision. She hasn't returned my calls or messages since. Now, I feel more alone than ever. My sister is still barely speaking to me. My girlfriend of 2 years is gone, and some of our mutual friends are taking her side, saying I'm throwing away my chance at happiness. But despite all this, I don't regret my decision. Seeing the relief on my parents' faces when I assured them they wouldn't have to leave their home confirmed that I made the right choice. Dad had one of his clearest days in weeks after that conversation. I won't lie, though. It's been tough. I'm juggling my teaching job, caring for my parents, and dealing with the emotional fallout of losing my girlfriend and the ongoing conflict with my sister. Some days, I feel overwhelmed and wonder if I can keep this up long term. But then I remember why I'm doing this. It's not just about obligation. It's about love, respect, and honoring my parents' wishes in their twilight years. They sacrificed so much for me and my sister growing up, and now it's my turn to be there for them. I'm not sure what the future holds. I'm looking into hiring part-time help to give me some break, and I'm considering joining a support group for caregivers. I haven't given up hope of reconciling with my sister someday, but for now, I'm focused on doing what I believe is right for my parents. So, Reddit, given these new developments, I ask again, Aita for choosing to continue caring for my parents at home, even at the cost of my relationship? Update 2. It's been another 2 months since my last update, and there have been some significant changes in my situation. I want to thank everyone again for their support and advice. After my last update, you suggested looking into home healthcare services to help with my parents. I took that advice to heart and started researching local agencies that provide in-home care for seniors. I found a trustworthy firm that specializes in providing nurses and caregivers for elderly people who want to age in place. I reached out to them, explained my situation, and they were incredibly understanding and helpful. The agency sent over a representative to assess our needs and discuss options. We decided to start with a nurse coming in for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. This would give me some break and ensure my parents were getting professional care in addition to what I could provide. That's how I met Emily, 27F. She's the nurse assigned to help with my parents, and I have to say, she's been a godsend. From the moment she walked in, she had this calm, compassionate presence that immediately put my parents at ease. Emily is fantastic with my dad. She knows exactly how to redirect him when he gets confused, and she's come up with some clever memory exercises that seem to be helping him. With my mom, she's been working on physical therapy exercises to improve her mobility. Mom's actually made some progress and can now move around the house a bit more easily. But it's not just her professional skills that impress me. Emily has this way of brightening up the whole house. She always has a kind word or a joke to share, and she genuinely seems to care about my parents' well-being. Even on her days off, she sometimes calls to check in and see how everyone's doing. I've found myself looking forward to the times when Emily is here. We often chat while she's working, and I've learned that she has a great sense of humor and a really interesting perspective on life. She's told me about her experiences as a nurse, her dreams of eventually opening a small elder care facility focused on dignity and independence, and her love for old movies, which my dad also adores. I have to admit, I've started to feel attracted to Emily. It's not just that she's pretty, which she is, but it's her kindness, her dedication, and the way she lights up when talking about her passion for elder care. After everything that happened with Sarah, I never expected to feel this way about someone again so soon. But I'm also very aware of the complicated nature of this situation. Emily is a professional here to do a job, and I don't want to make things awkward or uncomfortable for her. Plus, I'm still dealing with the emotional aftermath of my breakup with Sarah and the ongoing tension with my sister. I haven't acted on these feelings, and I don't plan to. For now, I'm just grateful for Emily's help and the positive impact she's had on our household. My parents adore her, and for the first time in a long while, the atmosphere at home feels lighter and more optimistic. As for my sister, there's been a small improvement. She came over for dinner last week and seemed surprised by how well Mom and Dad were doing. She even commented on how happy they seemed. We didn't discuss the care facility issue, but it felt like a step in the right direction. I'm feeling more hopeful about the future now. Having Emily's help has given me some much-needed breathing room. I've been able to focus more on my teaching, and I've even started to have a bit of a social life again, meeting friends for coffee or a movie occasionally. I know there are still challenges ahead. Dad's Alzheimer's isn't going away, and Mom will continue to need care. The situation with my sister isn't fully resolved, and I'm still navigating my own emotions about everything that's happened. But for now, I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm focusing on providing the best care I can for my parents, with Emily's wonderful help, and trying to rebuild other aspects of my life. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Reddit. How do you think I should navigate these new feelings? Am I wrong for even considering the possibility of something more with Emily? And do you have any advice on continuing to mend things with my sister? Thank you all again for your support throughout this journey. Your advice and kind words have meant more than you know.